Thank you. Thank you. Um, we all know why we are here today, but just as an highlight, this is TechTV, Digital Agenda Forum. This is for us to assess the outgoing year 2022 in our sector. There is a digital mix. So that is what we want to assess and then set the tone for the next year. And to do that, I will first call on the CEO, Tech TV, Mr. Don Pedro Agombe, for his welcome address. Thank you.
Thank you, MC. One more time, let's put our hands together for ourselves. Thank you. Now, I guess whilst the MC was speaking, she left out some of our distinguished guests that are here. Bumi, please come. Okay, Don. We have in our midst Her Excellency, the Consul General, that's the Ghana.
Cybersecurity, big data, IoT, compliance and regulatory oversight, and much more. This convergence brings to question high-risk security challenges. This applies to national, state, and local authorities, institutions, and corporations, as well as individuals. Blockchain technology offers a high degree of cybersecurity coverage, hence its attraction. However, with the ever-increasing volumes of data and information emanating from internet-based services, the cybersecurity risks remain very high. So in conclusion, I am always drawn to the words of Nicholas Negroponte. Nicholas Negroponte used to be the founder and the director of the multimedia lab from the Massachusetts Institute of Technology. And he said in one of his books, he says, young people are the world's most precious natural resource. Young people are the world's most precious natural resource. Nigeria is a growing democracy with a teeming population with over 200 million people, with approximately 34% between the ages of 15 and 34. Now, unfortunately, this is 2016 population data, so we can extrapolate. But it still represents over 60 million young people whose minds we need to shape. So the question to my mind is Nigeria ready for the fourth industrial revolution? These are some of the questions that we would like to ask and get some answers to today. But I would simply say not quite, that we're not quite ready. We're on that journey heading in that direction. So what then must we do to be ready? Well, if we are to focus on the young people of this entity called Nigeria, then we must be deliberate and intentional in laying out sustainable policies to prepare our young minds with the necessary skills and tools to compete in an innovative, technology-driven society today and moving forward. If we are to find the solution to this equation, AI plus IoT is equal to, well, we don't know yet, so we need to find the answer to that question, this equation sits at the heart of the convergence mix. Then education becomes the most important pillar behind innovation and opportunity. The internet offers new paths for learning, educational tools for kids, critical thinking and problem-solving skills, digital knowledge tools, and on and on and on. This also applies to children in poor countries like ours. So our focus for this forum, amongst other areas to be discussed, must include aggressive education to foster short to long-term programs to develop and nurture the talent of our young natural resources. To succeed in the new digital era of the convergence mix, we must take the bull by the horn, even if the desired result is different. Once again, I borrow from the words of Nicholas Negroponte. Computing is not about computers anymore. It's about living. So let the dialogue begin. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. I take away from that the need for us to nurture the youth. And it's really encouraging to know that though Nigeria is not yet there, but we are on the track, on the right path to achieving that. Please give a bigger round of applause to our chairman. Thank you. I must appreciate all of you for being here once again, because we know how hard it is to drive all the way, particularly in the face of biting fuel scarcity, and you still made it. In the face of the regular traffic, they call it rush hour, but you still make it. You still made it. I call it jam hour, but you still made it. So a big round of applause for all of you. We're not taking you for granted at all. Thank you. Next on our agenda is an address by our keynote speaker. But before I introduce her, I must let you know our keynote speaker is no mean person. She's a high flyer, a result-oriented achiever who has over 2 decades of professional experience in sales, strategy, planning, channel development, and channel sales in IT and telecom industry across Africa. In fact, she's so passionate about information communications technology, the extent that both the young and old colleagues at work, that she has mentored, through them, she has earned several awards. We are so proud of her. She has worked and represented us well at Lenovo as the first country sales lead for West Africa. Please give it up for Madam Rita Amuchewa. Welcome to the podium. Nice to have you here.
Good morning, everyone. We're still in the morning period, and I'm going to stand on the already existing protocol to make my keynote address. Unfortunately, I think the projector is not okay, so I'm going to talk through my presentation this morning. So I'm glad to be here, like the MC had introduced me. So I'm Mrs. Rita Ndidi Amuchewa. I'm actually the country executive leader for Intel for West Africa. So I'm glad to be here, and I'm proud to be a lady as well. And I can see, thank you. Yeah, thank you. That's more like it. Sounds better. We have very few ladies in-house here, so I'm also proud that we have so much people in the digitalization world now. So a little bit about what Mr. or Professor Okibo has said, the junior, so that he is no longer being arrested. So we have to put the junior. So he talked about digitalization, Internet of Things, and how both will work together, and about artificial intelligence. He actually asked the question and said, AI plus IoT equals to, for me, the answer will be equals to digitalization. That's what it will be. And I think everybody will agree to that because both of them works together for us to be digitalized. And if you had listened very carefully when the MC was talking about in those days, what digitalization used to be like, internet and all of those, we all experienced it. Far back in school, I schooled in Unical. I used to go queue around the Intel, I said Intel, at the Nitel office to make sure that I get my turn to talk to my father. And it wasn't an easy thing. You will queue the whole day. By the time it gets to your turn, they tell you that there's no network. And you couldn't even call Owerri then because I come from Owerri. So today is a different ball game. The tune has changed. And you can attest and agree with me that the world is becoming better. And Intel is here to give you the world-changing game that will make your world a better place to live. A round of applause, a bigger one. Thank you so very much. Well, for those of us who don't know who Intel is a chip manufacturing company. But we've gone beyond that. We've been in existence for 50 years, processing technology. Honestly, it is not just about processing technology. We do tie-grade, architecture, memory, connectivity. We are truly excited about our 50 years of innovation because it's not just about chips manufacturing. We've gone beyond that. So, we started way back in 1968, and to date, we've gone through all processes of technology. The Intel journey is a beautiful journey that if you go through it, if you Google us, you will know that digitalization is a better place to be. So Intel put silicon in the Silicon Valley. I don't know how many of us have heard about Silicon Valley. Just show by the raise of your hand. So if you have heard about Silicon Valley, it's Intel that put silicon in the Silicon Valley. We've had a profound influence in the world for that 50 years that I have said that we've been in process. Honestly, it's been a beautiful, forward ever kind of thing for us. And that's what makes us uniquely different from every other organization, because we go beyond manufacturing of chips. We do what we call software. We also do artificial intelligence. We do edge compute, which is cloud, and that is where everybody is heading to. Once our CEO said that Intel has a world-changing technology. He said, we create world-changing technology that improves the life of everyone on the planet. And that is the truth. Apart from the software we manufacture, we also do what we call packaging and processing. And those are the leading providing stuff that we have that made Silicon Valley very unique at a very scale manufacturing process. The entire world is becoming digital. There's no doubt about that. And because of that, Intel brought what we call pervasive connectivity. We have our cloud to edge infrastructure. We also have our artificial intelligence. Whether you like it or not, artificial intelligence has come to stay. It has gotten to a stage where people are asking, is machine learning going to take over what we do as human beings? Well, it may not really take over, but it's going to make us less being, putting so much effort manually. So the machine is going to help us do things seamlessly, apart from putting so much energy manually like we usually do. So that is what artificial intelligence is. So how do we win as Intel being in this country, Nigeria? So we have what we call the 3 products that we use or three strategy which we use in winning. The first one is our belief. The second is our strategy. The third is our execution. So our belief is that we are in an era of sustained long-term demand. If you are in a field where there is no demand, then you are going out of production. Today, Intel is in hot demand. Why? Because of our chips. You use HP, you use Lenovo, you use Dell, you use Asus, name it, is the Intel chips that runs on it. And we are the best semiconductors. Take it or leave it, and I speak with authority. We have an open ecosystem that unleashes innovation and democratizes compute. Honestly, that is actually the belief that set us up there in the sky. Our strategy, like I said, is not just to talk about it. We deliver what we call quality leadership products that makes us very unique, despite every other chips that runs in any gadget. And we anchored on open and under secure platforms. And our execution, we run what we call IDM 2.0. This IDM 2.0 is what is making us fantastic. IDM 2.0 is actually the execution that our new CEO brought on board that is very seamless. And what is IDM? IDM is integrated device manufacturing. And that is the solution that has made our products the leader products in the world. I don't want to say particularize in Nigeria. Let's just say in the world, because Intel is a global brand. And apart from our machine, like this laptop that I'm using right now, we have what we call the data centers. Data centers are used in various financial sectors. It's all our products that is running in those data centers. We work with the likes of Oracle. We work with the likes of Schneider Electric. We work with IBM, and we ensure that all the products that they are utilizing is perfect and is being upgraded with Intel leadership products. So aside the data center, we have what we call the network edge, and also accelerated compute systems and graphics. We have what we call the mobile eye. This mobile eye is what we use on automation. We also have what we call foundry services that we also use as one of our products in product leadership line. Then we have what we call the open platforms. The open platforms deliver open and secure software and hardware platforms with industry-defining standards. And these standards that it defines is what makes what we put together $1 million for us. Internal factory network, external foundries, and internal foundries are all into our strategy of IDM 2.0. And that is what brings our manufacturing into the special kind of platforms, leveraging Intel's leading edge packaging and process technology and making it a world-class IP portfolio. Our people and our culture. Intel has a very defined culture that makes us very unique. And what are those? Honestly, in every organization, you have what makes you feel very thick in your arena. And for Intel, what makes us special is we depend on people and work with partners to deliver a world-class technology. We don't just do it ourselves, we partner to do it. And there is no way we can just do it alone. That's why we have partners that we bundle together or partner together to deliver a world-class technology. We push forward a torrid pace with our purpose at heart to do everything that we need to do, creating world-changing technology that provides that platform that makes everybody different on this platform. Tech as a force of good, we have what we call responsibility, inclusive, sustainability, and enabling. And when you put these four together, responsible, inclusive, sustainable, enabling, it gives you what we call the leading in the future, meaning that living up to our purpose is what makes us who we are. So we are responsible for what happens to your digitalization. We are also inclusive for what it has to do for you. And we want to make it sustainable for you. So you don't have to spend money a year and year after. We make it in such a way that it will enable whatever you have at heart to deliver, either to enable your business to grow or to actually make your organization to move forward. So we have one of our CEOs, our co-founders, who comes every day to us and say, don't be encumbered by history, but you have to go off and do something wonderful. And I say this because when Pedro was giving his keynote address, or welcome address, he said to us that 5G was labeled as a killer disease. In fact, to a point where they said 5G was the actual thing that brought COVID-19 to us. At some point, I was beginning to believe it. I didn't know what to believe anymore because people were just dying. And I said, is it true that 5G is a witch? But honestly, if I wasn't a technology person, if I wasn't digitalized, I would have believed it because the rampant death that was happening simultaneously around this game of 5G coming up and all of that. But I can tell you today authoritatively that 5G is the best thing that has happened to us in this world. So earn it, believe it, live it, feel it, and use it. 5G is very good. And thank you so much because I was at the launching of that 5G with MTN and I was waiting for the killer witch to come and take everybody there. Unfortunately, it didn't. Please, a round of applause for that 5G because it's something that everyone should imbibe. So I talked about ubiquitous compute. This ubiquitous compute is something I tell you guys that soon, each and every one of us will have thousands of devices and it will be at our disposal. Thousands of devices which you will put together to connect, to give you what you want. Connectivity is no longer just connecting your mobile. Connectivity has gone beyond that. You can connect triple things together to give you what you need to achieve. Have you heard about smart homes? Yes, where you come into your house from the door, you just speak and your door opens. You tell your light to come on and it comes on. You lie down on your bed and say, please light, go off. I'm tired. Light goes off and you have your sleep. You don't need to stand up and start putting off light in every home or every room. You sit down, you remember that, oh, your generator is running somewhere. Maybe they took light. You sit there and command the generator to go off, and it goes off. That is what we call ubiquitous compute, where connectivity is together and very seamless. Pervasive connectivity also is something we should always have at the back of our mind, where the network is going very soft, like the 5G that I have mentioned. Cloud to edge infrastructure, people storing data in the cloud. We no longer want to lose data. In fact, let's take for instance, your mobile phones where you do your WhatsApp. You have what we call the cloud on your WhatsApp. You can store your messages. When you change your phone, all you need to do is to go pull it and transfer it in your next phone. So those are what we call cloud to edge infrastructure. It goes beyond that. The banking sectors knows better than what I am saying right now because they've really engaged in it and they have really derived so much pleasure storing data in the cloud. Artificial intelligence we can't say so much about it anymore. It has come to stay. Machine learning is something everyone should begin to look at, how it can enhance your businesses, your life, and the way you live. So, I wouldn't want to say much. Intel is found in 120 countries. And honestly, we have 15.2 billion invested in R&D. $15.2 million, not Naira. I'm not talking about Naira. So that's what we always invest in, what we call research and development. We have our supply chain, we have our community, we have our sustainability, and those are the things that we put together to make our business very sustainable so that we continuously stay, and tomorrow you can hear about Intel. It was very shocking when I walked in and Pius Okibo was telling me, I didn't know Intel was here. In fact, it took me aback, and I said, wow. So it gave me another sense of reasoning that we should make so much noise, tell people that Intel is here in the country. And we do so much more being here in the country, because there's somehow, somewhere that you cannot do without Intel. Because in every of your gadgets, it is our semiconductor chips that runs in it. So take my number, take my details, and make sure you reach out to me, because Intel is here to stay. Thank you so very much. You go out there and do something very wonderful.
A big round of applause for Mrs. Rita Amachoa. Thank you so much for that piece. My takeaway from I took away a lot of things, but the one that I can't easily forget is when you said Intel is a responsible company. To be responsible is no joke. And that reminded me of a joke I once heard. Okay? And, a company was trying to hire people for a role. And then the interviewer, when the first person got there, the interviewer said, for this role that you are applying for, just like the Intel woman said, we want a very responsible person. Oh, the applicant said, oh, no problem with that. At my last job, my CEO used to tell me when anything happened that I was always responsible. Give it up for Mrs. Teresa again. That was interesting. Now we're going to have our own proud Executive Vice Chairman of the Nigerian Communications Commission, ably represented here today for his keynote address by Mr. Dr. Chukwudi Digo. Please give him a warm welcome.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Before I go to my presentation, let me acknowledge everyone here standing on the existing protocol. I'm quite excited that the chairman of the occasion, most respectable Pius Okibo, had already set the pace for this conversation, and then followed by our own Rita. And then I said to Rita, you did not mention that NCC is behind your success. She said I must mention that. Huh? And regarding the myths and the realities surrounding 5G, I recall Pascal Wager. We all know Blaise Pascal. And then he was a mathematician and a philosopher. And then, he was talking, his philosophy was between, human beings must wager, their lives with God's existence, whether God existed or not. And Pascal argues that a rational person should live as though God exists and seeks to believe in God. If God does not, such a person will have listen down, such a person will have only a definite loss, which is some pleasure or luxury. Whereas if God does exist, he stands to receive infinite gains. Am I correct? So if 5G is, if you do believe that there's immense opportunity in 5G, and it comes, you have the whole world and eternity to rejoice. But if you remain doubtful and begin to not invest in 5G, and suddenly it comes upon you, unfortunately, it will be too late. So having said that, let me go straight to why I'm here. I'm here to represent the Executive Vice Chairman of the Nigerian Communications Commission, Professor Engineer Umar Garba Dambata, the Executive Vice Chairman and the CEO of the Nigerian Communications Commission. On this occasion, to look at the state of the telecommunications in the year under review, which is this year, and then also look at the convergence of artificial intelligence, Internet of Things, and blockchain in deepening the 5G penetration in Nigeria. And then we also have to set an agenda for the upcoming year. So the coordinator, TechTV Digital Agenda Forum, ladies and gentlemen, it is my honor and privilege to address you this morning at this year's Digital Forum with the theme, Looking Forward 2023, Convergence of 5G, Internet of Things, Artificial Intelligence, and Blockchain. Let me begin. It's almost going to be sounding like an echo in the room when I say that 5G network is a foundation or a building block upon which all new and emerging technologies are to be developed or are being developed upon. And Pius had already alluded to the benefits of speed, availability, resilience, and so on and so forth that are immensely attributable to 5G networks. So they bear no repetition. But I suppose that what is very important in this conversation is to possibly look at what NCC had been doing to ensure that there are a lot of uptakes as far as the new and emerging techs are concerned, not necessarily having to define technology. Well, within the instruments that govern NCC, we continuously look at our licensing regime. We continuously engage stakeholders and lower the barrier to entries. Whether you are playing in the network operating zone or the virtual network operating zone, we are continuously refining our mechanisms to ensure that loads and loads of people come in and play in the telecommunications industry. And upon licensing, we do not just leave you. We make sure that we connect you with the existing operating companies. Because it is only in that way that there will be a handshake between your own network, whether it is virtual or real, and the existing ones. And you do agree with me that the network resources for this sort of operations are very limited. The spectrum resources are very limited. The numbering plan are very limited. And therefore, we also make sure that we partake in distribution of the scarce resources equitably amongst all the different players. In doing this, for example, in the bandwidth commodity, there's always a structural separation, accounting and structural separation between the cable companies and the ISP companies, in such a way that there will be no predatory pricing. By this, the new entrants or the smaller ones are given the opportunity to play alongside the big players like Main One and so on and so forth. So apart from interconnection and the sharing of scarce resources, NCC is very much committed to competitions, making sure that dominance is removed in the industry. So the fact that you've got the numbers does not really confer on you that space to edge out the smaller ones. So competition has to do with pricing regime as well. So we do also set the price ceilings and the price floors within which services are delivered. There are many more things that we can talk about competition, but time will not permit us. But I suppose that it's important that I mention about the universal access and service obligation. So because even if we have all these things clearly defined, and they do not get down to the end users, they are still lacking. And therefore, the Nigerian Communications Commission, through the Universal Service Provision Fund, do fulfill its mandate to serve both to provide services for the served communities, the underserved, and the underdeveloped. And this is by way of reviewing what we do. And then in each of these framework, you will immensely find a lot of activities that take place at the state levels, national level, and local government levels. The movement had always been to ensure that we identify innovators, tech starters, venture capitalists, incubators, and so on and so forth. Through our R&D department, we've been able to sponsor a lot of researches in the universities and many tertiary institutions. And our interest is not limited to telecommunications per se. We also look into alternative energy resources. Because we know that without power, there will be no telecommunications. So every year, NCC advertises for research positions, for research grants, and so on and so forth, seeking for applicants to come and demonstrate their clear understanding of the industry and how they will participate in ensuring that we achieve our digital destination. And then, apart from drilling directly with stakeholders who are innovators and accelerators, we also work with MDAs in different capacities to ensure that we domesticate the dividends of broadband. We have MOUs with different organizations. We're also working with the National Security Advisor of the country to look at the cyberspace. There's an act, Cybersecurity Act, Prohibition, etc. of 2015, that Pius was going to talk about, but then he said internet was the world's most ungoverned space. And I was very curious to say yes. It is not entirely ungoverned because we, even at the national level, we have got an act that deals, precisely with the cyber security. But because it's a non-geographical activity, one might think that it is largely ungoverned. So suffice it to say that the Nigerian Communications Commission is actively involved in governing the internet through active participation in the Nigeria Internet Governance Forum and the World Internet Governance Forum. We also have the capabilities to interrogate threats that come into this country from every direction. So as I speak with you, the time is probably about 12 o'clock. You probably would have recorded not less than 15 million attacks. And sometimes closing with over 30 million attacks. But then, They are all being defended because we have got cyber defenders. We've got the capabilities through CSET and through collaborations with the Office of the National Security Advisor to protect the internet and the space. But a lot still has to be done and must be done by all stakeholders, not the least the TechTV promoters, for which Don Pedro and his colleagues have been playing very commendable roles. So, to keep my speech short, I would like to thank you for inviting us and to encourage you to achieve a meaningful deliberation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. We're so proud of NCC. We're so proud to the extent that, NCC has won lots of international accolades, so much that many other regulators from across Africa had been here to understudy NCC. Please give a round of applause to the Nigerian Communications Commission. I have the honor of introducing one of the pioneers of private security companies in Nigeria, Dr. Victoria Ekomo, CEO, Transworld Security Limited. Welcome, madam. Now we're going to have our first paper presentation. This excites me. It excites me so much that, do you know how it feels when you have to queue at the filling station looking for fuel, not just for your car or diesel, for your generator, particularly when there is nobody at home and you have to do it by yourself. It is torturing as a woman. And these days, they don't even look at you. If you like, in fact, I am sure some people pretend to be pregnant to go to filling station. It's not fun. It's not funny. Now we have amongst us today a company who is so proud to say, we have, and we beat our chest. You can use our generator without fuel or... And I say, are we going to put water? What are we going to... I'm interested. I'm sure you will have a lot of sales here. Just make sure you bring 10% to TechTV for giving you this platform to speak to the world, because it's going beyond this hall. So we're serious about that 10%. So I'm going to introduce Professor Demola Akinyoade, Director, Wind Electric Nigeria Limited, to come and make his presentation.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Professor Demola Akinyoade, has been introduced. I'm standing in for my chairman because if you look at the program, I'm supposed to be the one speaking. But when your boss says, go and speak for me, you have no option but to step out and do it on his behalf. So everything I'm going to be saying in a few minutes comes directly from him. So if anybody feels offended, please grab him, not me. I really appreciate the privilege in standing on the existing protocol. Sorry for that. I quite appreciate the privilege given to us by TechTV to be part of this program today. When they reached out to us, initially, we were wondering, why you at TechTV, you are talking about digital agenda. Why? But it wasn't long before we realized the connection, because energy drives everything. Even God Almighty could not start the work of creation without light. So the first thing he said was, let there be light. That is energy. Without the energy, nothing could be created. If we are talking about revolutionizing Nigeria or the fourth industrial revolution in Nigeria, there is no way we can talk about it without talking about energy. I want to thank the anchor person, the MC, and Madam for taking us a little bit back in the history of telephone. Now I want to add the gender dimension because the two of them are women. I'm a gender specialist. I recall the use of phone, but my own experience wasn't calling home for reinforcement. I was calling somebody I was toasting, as we used to say then. I queued for maybe close to 2 hours. I stood up, I squatted, I sat. By the time it reached my turn, all the romantic thoughts vanished. I was only able to say, "How are you? I hope you are okay." And then everything went off. But with the advent of GSM, we can spend several minutes talking about, your feelings to whoever is dear to you. As I said, our company is a renewable energy company. The chairman said something remarkable. He said that the youth are the most precious resource of every nation. The youth population in Nigeria is so massive. It's now above 50%, about 60-something, 65% or so. And one of the things the world is looking at out for in Africa is its youth population. We have them all over. However, one of the major banes of Nigeria's economy, as we all know, is energy. Right from primary school, every time I've written the problems of development in Nigeria, it's been lack of power. Later they changed it to inadequate power. Layer road, and I was surprised till now when people write about the problem of Nigeria, power is still a major problem. I was talking to a member of the Manufacturing Association of Nigeria, MAN, some weeks back. I told him, sir, energy takes 35% of production cost. He said, my brother, you are wrong. He said it's now more than 50% of production cost. And that is where wind electric comes in. We've been incorporated as an renewable energy manufacturing company for over a decade. Our venture into the energy world was born out of our passion about what is going on in Nigeria. We saw that our small and medium-scale enterprises, they suffer when it comes to power. Everybody has now become its own power generation, power distribution company. So we felt, how can we make a difference? It's not first of all about making money. It's first and foremost about making change. We go all over the world, we go all over Africa, and we see what youths are doing, and we know that Nigerian youths are better equipped to do much more. But a major disadvantage, power. So our chairman, who is here, took it upon himself to research into alternative energy sources and green energy sources and also cheap energy sources. So what we have here, what we have today, is a product of many years of research. And development. Part of this research and development took him outside the country, to some countries in Europe and also in the Americas, when he finally got the technology working with his partners. Then he decided to bring it to Nigeria. I know that many of us, as the MC has said, we are eager to know what this technology is all about. When I want to be funny with people, when I talk to them about it, and they say, it doesn't use diesel, it doesn't use petrol, it doesn't use water. They say, then what does it use? I said, we breathe into it. I would say, let there become a living soul. And that's the technology. But actually, what we did is to manipulate some, or break some laws in physics, combine magnets and coil, and then we were able to come up with a generator that is noiseless, a generator that can work and supply power 24/7, 365 days a week, a year. An alternative source of energy that could power homes, that could power businesses, that could power community. Because currently we are able to manufacture up to 1 megawatt, and we are also working on going above 1 to 10 megawatts so that we can decentralize power generation in Nigeria, so that we can stop relying on fossil fuel, so that we can produce green energy, so that we can crash the cost of living, the cost of goods and services, starting with Nigeria, then Africa, and across the world. I'm happy to tell you that one of our first customers, they're from Europe. I won't tell you the country because you wouldn't believe it. You wouldn't believe it. They are from Europe, and we are very soon exporting some units that we are manufacturing currently to them. The chairman used to joke with us. He say, Nigerians, they want to see and believe. Europeans contacted us, paid fully without seeing nothing. Just saying, we've seen you online, explain this thing to us, do demo for us, and wow, this thing is working. So, I won't take our time. I know the main gist I want to hear in this presentation is what I've said. Sorry, it is not a paper presentation. When I saw paper presentation, I would say, wow, no. I've been doing paper presentation since Monday. Conference in Abuja. I ran out of a conference yesterday. I'm running back after this. So when I saw paper presentation, I said, no, not again. This is just to present to you our company, our products, our services, and its potentials, and to say that anybody interested could come over. This is our table here, maybe after or during, to ask questions, to take our contacts. We make arrangements. Anybody that is interested can come and visit our facilities. We are setting up one in Lagos for Lagos people. Our factory is somewhere in Ogun State. You are interested, we can make arrangements for you to visit. So, I present to you wind electric energy and its alternative energy solutions to power problem in Nigeria, Africa, and the world. Thank you very much.
Wow. Professor Akinyoade, thank you. There will be time for questions and answers.
Since he was coming here, why didn't you bring like a video? Since you can't do a presentation, at least, since you are in Ogun State and we cannot go to Ogun State.
This morning.
You should have brought that, and then while you are talking about it, we'll get an idea of it.
There is a video for that. Yes, thank you very much, Ma.
Have that video later on.
Okay.
Is it ready? Is the video ready, or we take it later on?
Yes.
If it's not ready, so that it doesn't eat into our time, we can have it later, please. Let's have it later. Are we good to go?
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, the plan was that after the discussion, then there'll be a video.
Okay, since the
later.
presentation is not forthcoming, if we can allow for like 3 people to ask him questions right away. My first question, if I'm allowed to ask question, will be about costing, because that's very important. And what packages do you have? That's very key.
Thank you. Pricing, very affordable, and affordable in the sense that when you consider the cost of fossil fuel and the cost of this generator, you find out that the cost of running fossil fuel generator in a year, if you run it 24/7, which is almost impossible, is far higher than what we are asking. For instance, markets, Chairman, sir, do you have the permission to talk about the price? My boss said no.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ejiofor Agada, and I'm here with the management and team of Wind Electric. The issue of the pricing of the generators is dependent on the capacity. So it is a bespoke system that has to take into consideration what the requirements are before the pricing is considered. So it's not as if it is generators lined up and then they will just tell you the prices of it off by heart. So it is based on demand, it's based on requirement that will now translate into figures.
You can still tell us 2-liter engine will cost this.
No, it doesn't work like that, Bumi. It doesn't work like that, Bumi. So after he has finished his presentation, the chairman is here. He will also tackle it, both price, everything.
Who wants to ask the question?
Yeah, thank you. In your presentation, you made a statement. You said you've broken the laws of physics. That scares the living daylights out of me, and him too, and whoever else is science inclined. When you say you've broken the laws of physics, what does it do to you? It makes you wonder. So please, you need to clarify exactly what you meant by breaking the laws of physics to be able to come up with this thing. Otherwise, then it'll be as if you've come to sell a lemon to everybody here. Agreed? There you go.
If you say they are buying it in Europe, we in Nigeria want to know about it. Because what you have said now doesn't give us enough information to move forward. So we in Nigeria, we also want to know more about it. And this law of physics, let us know. And then how does it work? Let's know so that we don't think it's a lemon. Okay. We want to believe you. So we are not what you have talked about, that Nigerians, what did you say? You said something about Nigerians. Nigerians we like to see. Okay, we want to have an idea even if you won't let us see.
Okay, please, I would like to invite the chairman of the company, Engineer Tunji Ishola, to come and give us, excuse me, please. No. He has every right to run away.
Excuse me, sir. Before you answer that question, I'm very particular about regulation. As the regulatory authority, does the regulatory authority, which of them has given you a nod, a go ahead on this product? Is it NCC? Is it which one that has given you a nod on this?
Okay, I'm going to start with the regulatory.
I say a nod, a go ahead, so to speak.
It appears my chairman would like to take over. I'm representing him here. So, Engineer Tunji Ishola.
Thank you very much, Prof. Yeah, we face this every day. So it's not new. And even the clients that come to our factory, they still ask these kind of questions. How possible is this? Yeah, you see, the technology is not a new technology per se. It's been in existence for over 300 years. In fact, I got to know about the technology some 6 or 7 years ago through a friend. You know, I was into this wind turbine manufacturing and inverter manufacturing in Nigeria. So he just came in and said, there's a technology immense in this country that are not using fuel. So we had to go there together to see for myself. Because of my technical inclination, I had to, pay for the training but I was one not to do exactly what they produced. I had to invent my own. So it took a lot of money for me to scale through to get my own design. So I needed a patent. I went to Abuja for patenting, and they still tell me it is not the new technology. That is somebody's technology. You get me? So it's not a new technology per se. So this is how it works. You see, this conventional alternator is a combination of rotor and stator. Rotor is that spindle, that shaft in the middle of the alternator. Then the stator is the one that carries the coil. So once the generator starts rolling the rotor, what it does is it turns to magnet, electromotive force. So the more you demand energy from it, the generator needs to put more effort to keep generating electromotive force so that the coil will produce for you. So what we just did is we removed the engine and remove that rotor and put permanent magnet there. Put what? Magnet. And put magnet. Since the role of the rotor is to generate magnet. You get me? Since the role of the rotor is to generate electromotive force. So we simply remove the rotor and put magnet. So if you now use your hand to roll it, it will give you what it's supposed to give you. So that's what we just did. Okay. Yes, yes, yes. Oh, yes. We have Nigerians that are using our product. We have Nigerians that are using our product. It's just that after purchasing from us, they turn it to a museum. Museum. They don't want everybody to come and see. They hide it from the public. So the price is very affordable looking at the long term. Long time. Because some of the parts, we have to import them. We have to import them, and the price is not smiling. It's not smiling. Going through the rigorous banking processes, this and that. So that is what that's what makes you look as if the price is on a bit on the high side. It's a bit expensive more than the conventional generator.
Well, I'm sure, madam, I'm sure anybody that is interested, once you approach them, they will give you the different bits they've got. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you. A big round of applause. At least this is coming from Nigeria. We can make technology for ourselves. We don't have to always import things. We don't always have to import things. We can make what works for us. We don't have to copy and paste all the time. It's encouraging. I hope it works well and it doesn't blow up after 1 month. I'm also concerned about durability, apart from cost. So we'll be looking forward to having details of that. And TechTV can help you publicize it if you're willing. Please put your hands together for them. Right now, we're going to have a short musical interlude so that we can take group photographs. So, can we have short musical interlude? And I will invite our keynote speakers, our distinguished guests for group photograph. Thank you. It's just going to be brief. Thank you. Madam from Intel, we have.
I would now invite the MC to come. All right. To kickstart this session, I would have to bring on to review what we've heard today and the industry trends, as breakthroughs and our successes, someone who knows the industry, you know, he knows the various sectors of the industry. Let's welcome the CEO of IXDOR, right? Mr. James Agada. He's going to have a lead, you know, he's just going to lead the panel, and then this discussion will continue from there. Okay? Thank you.
Good afternoon. I think it's afternoon now. I think Don Pedro should get an award for ambushing people. Right? He just okay.
Okay, we will incorporate it in the next award.
Please do. He just drops you in, and you know, we used to have that old idea that if you wanted to teach a man to swim, you just take him to the middle of the river and drop him. If he comes out, he has learned how to swim. If he didn't come out, well, he didn't learn how to swim. So that's the position that Don Pedro has put me in. Okay, so I think the chairman gave a very good rundown on what, in my opinion, is what I usually call the digital revolution. And it is anchored on several things. The first one is that we are actually digitizing reality. And when I say digitizing reality, it's that we're able to represent what we call reality with numbers. And so we can represent the color of the clothes you are wearing with numbers. We can represent what you say, how you say it, facial expression, your interaction. We can represent that all with numbers. I mean, that's when you say digits. And if you can represent them with numbers, it also means that computers can process those numbers and process them much faster than you can as a human being. So on that side, you find that we are making those computers very small, commoditized, ubiquitous. As Rita has told us, we are making that computing ubiquitous. So you are turning the world into numbers, that's your reality. You are making the ability to process those numbers available to everybody, to everywhere. In fact, you can weave some of those computing into your clothes. And if you want to have an idea of how dramatic this has been, anybody that has a mobile phone in this room is holding more computing power than was used to land a man on the moon. And we're all holding it in our hands here. And then the third leg of this is that you now have pervasive communication that is getting faster and faster and faster, and that's what 5G is bringing to the table. So you have that three combination of ubiquitous and computing, you have pervasive high-speed communication, and you have a reality that is digitized. So what is left? As the chairman said, when you add up all of them, what do you get? And the truth is that nobody knows. Nobody knows because we're all discovering what it all means. So when we take all this together and then we look at where we are in Nigeria in 2022 and going forward, the first thing that stands out is that some things are inevitable. It's not a question of whether you want, you like, you can, it's going to happen. And it's just a question of at which end of the train do you get on? Is it when the train has gone very far and you have to be running from behind? So it's not a question of you are missing the train. Nobody's going to miss the train. It's just how do you get onto the train? And at what time? Okay. The other thing that also comes out is that those who are driving this train also have a way of determining where the destination is going to be. And you start hearing of digital slavery, digital colonization, because you are not determining where we are going. And when we think of that, therefore, we say that in Nigeria, we have been very good with latching onto whatever the latest technology is and using it. However, we are slowly getting into the area where, if we are not careful, we are actually slaves to those who are putting out these technologies and deciding where they're going to. And I'm happy that Intel is here. And I understand that a few years ago, Intel funded the training of a few 100,000 engineers in India in artificial intelligence. Yeah? And Intel is here. Yeah, I don't know how many they have funded in Nigeria. All right. Okay, so what I see is we are able to get on to the technology as it comes out. 5G has come, we are deploying 5G. If you ask me of the intellectual property input into that 5G in Nigeria, it probably stopped with the issuance of the license. Nothing else. Nothing wrong with that. There are so many things that 5G can make possible for us, and we can latch on and use it. But don't forget that after 5G, there will be 6G, there will be 7G, and it keeps going on. So I see a situation where, as we are today, there's a lot that is now possible. Where what we have to start thinking about is not just what is possible, it is what is it that we are going to use them for, and how are we going to contribute to the tools that make these things possible. There are many things that you can do that appear mundane, but they are being able to take these things and solve problems that are ours. I'll give you an example of something that came up in the project I'm currently doing, we started by looking at how do we digitize informal transport. But in the process, we've learned a lot of things. We've learned that in that process, we can map the city better than Google can map it. We can tell you where the potholes are on the road. In fact, we can give you a better live map than Google can, because hey, our vehicles are moving on the road, and we have the cameras on them, and they are taking the pictures. So we can actually tell you much. Google does, but Google doesn't change as fast as what we can get. So it's now, what are you going to do with these things? The challenges in Nigeria are significant. There's the challenge of power. There's the challenge of regulation that you are never sure where it's heading for. There's the challenge in the economy. There's the challenge in the political and social and economic environments. Those challenges won't go away. We'll just have to live with them or find those solutions that enable us to go forward. So I will leave the rest of the panel to build on that.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for that lead. I'm going to ask Tinuade my first question. Now we have the blockchain, we have the 5G, we have cybersecurity, we have renewable energy, we have IoT, we have all of them in our faces right now. What is the connectivity? Where is the mix? Where is the convergence? How can we maximize this technologies?
Thank you very much. My name is Tinuade Oguntuyi once again. I'm not sitting on all existing protocols. I'm acknowledging and saying thank you for this and thank you for the invite. It's almost like Sir here mentioned some of the things that happened like 2 weeks ago thereabout in Cape Town while I was moderating a session on satellites and Africa forging its own journey into the space. And there was something very key that I thought I dropped in the room that day, that we're too used to this copying and pasting that we forget to really see to our own needs. The applicability of any technology, I believe, should come first. If everybody is going to the space to war, is that what we want to do? We have security issues, we have supply chain issues, we have several issues that we need to deal with. Then coming to this convergence mix, I'm very glad the person that spoke about the wind power generating set said that when they talk about infrastructure, everything, power still comes first. And that's the truth. How will the cloud function if there is no base where the power is swelling? I tell people, I work in an ISP and a tech company. For every base station that I manage, once there is a power outage, let there be 1 million clients. They will all go down. Not because the client at the receiving end does not have power, but because the feeding base station is out of power. So we need to critically look at power, whether we like it or not. Then now talking about 5G. I maybe sometimes stand at the other side of the table for some of these things because I see how it affects people because of the industry I play also. We have a lot of places, even here in Nigeria, that do not have 2G connection. Somebody might argue, but I know because my company deploys rural telephony. And I know locations where we've gone, the chiefs, the kings will call and start jubilating. You will see the joy and you'll be wondering, are they also in Nigeria? The 5G idea is very brilliant, truth be told, because it will open doors for more things. But I think it will be better we don't look at the captive market for 5G rollout. I know because it's still in the trial stage and all that. The use case should not be more of, oh, somebody wants to stream or somebody wants to use broadband, because you're already satisfying those needs already. We should start looking at maybe robots on the farm. How do we want to use 5G? Where there is insecurity, a farmer is not able to go and harvest crops, is it possible that we use 5G to drive robots going to those farms to harvest for the farmer? A woman is on the maybe somewhere in a local area and she wants to put to bed and they need help. Is somebody able to come, either holograms or things that would help with telemedicine that will solve our own real problems? 5G, as theoretically or in the books, is secured. But smart homes, there was something I was watching about a company doing smart home, and I told my husband, I said, imagine, in the beauty of all of this, oh, Google, turn on the light. Oh, Google, bring up the curtains. Google this. Imagine an hacker hacks into that smart home. What happens? Google all of a sudden will not identify your voice again. That means the hacker can actually turn every other thing around. So we have to pay attention to security, and security begins with every one of us. We treat technology too much on the surface in this part of the world. Maybe I'm also guilty. And like he said too, that we want to just take it and adopt it. We don't even want to look at what is on the surface, what is behind the surface. We just want to see the stage play. We pay less attention to the backdrop or what is happening behind. Then IoT, fantastic. Oh, smoke detectors, we have all of these things. It will still expose us in some level to what we are not prepared for. Many a times, it's like you opening the door deliberately for somebody that wants to come and take out from you. The fridge tells the store, oh, my boss is running out of beverage, supply it. Perhaps the boss is trying to cut off on beverage at that time, but much is now giving out. So how are we able to manage what we want out there and what we want to keep to ourselves? So everything has its mix. 5G will help, whether we like it or not. Because 5G has come, IoT will bloom, we will really boom. Artificial intelligence now, there is this I read on one of the platforms that I belong to, about a robot to be launched in December that is wearing like an Igbo robot and speak several languages, at least that is concerning us in Africa, which is fine, because then we'll begin to identify with what our needs are and be able to use them to utilize it. So I think that convergence, the mix is there, but we need to pick it as it deals with what our problems are. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I'm going to ask Rita now. What is the place, or where is the place of the regulator in this mix? How do we respond to them, and what is the place of the regulator in the mix?
Well, I'm glad the NCC person, has he left? That is where they come in. But again, for every investment and for everything that comes into digitalization, it has regulatory. And we must obey it, because that is where all we are saying today comes on or comes in. Like she said, if you look at what we are doing or what we want to gain, you also have at the back of your mind that everything you're doing has disadvantage and it also has advantage. So when you weigh the advantage and weigh the disadvantages, you are able to now diversify and say, oh, okay, this is exactly what I want to achieve. Having at the back of your mind the disadvantages and how to cope them. So that is where the regulatory comes in. How do you cope these disadvantages? For instance, the security we talked about. How do you secure your home if you have a smart home? To avoid hackers coming in, or to avoid smart home or any sure that it also favors us. In as much as it favors the people bringing in this equipment, bringing in this digitalization, the convergence to us. So we all have to work together to ensure that 100% favors us, and probably 70% favors the people that are playing the regulatory information that we needs to guide us. Thank you.
Thank you. For Mr. Deyinka, I'm going to ask. Everybody is particular and interested in costing, because all these things don't come cheap. Are we ripe? Can a common man who is still struggling to eat 3 square meal able to afford this?
All right, thank you. Thank you, moderator. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Dele Adeyinka, just has been introduced. I work for Polaris Bank. I'm a general manager with Polaris Bank. I'm the chief digital officer at Polaris Bank. And I've been enjoying the session since morning when we started. I'd like to also give a huge commendation to the organizers of this event. Not just for organizing it, but for the content, the richness and the depth of the content. And I'll put it to, I'll connect the dots. Now, listening to everyone and their different contributions, and I will still answer your question, ma'am, okay, but I just need to lay the right foundation. I see a very well thought through content. We see the regulator, NCC, getting involved because without having that right backbone properly set and the foundation being laid, all of the journey about digitization we will never have in the country today. And kudos to them who are also driving, regulating, and guiding all of what goes on with the internet space and as far as telecommunication is concerned in Nigeria. I'm also happy and excited, and I'm sure all of us are, with respect to the alternative power supply that we are hearing today about the contribution of wind electric to solving that major problem that we have in the country today. So even if we have all the internet backbone that we need and power supply is not there, it will also not work, just like my colleague ICSL has also collaborated. And are you seeing how those dots are connecting? I'm excited and I've been thrilled with the contribution of Intel and all of the presentations we've had, fantastic presentation we've had earlier on today about the semiconductor and the chip in itself that is powering all the devices we are using today, from our different laptops and different gadgets and different phones that we're using today, building on all of those infrastructures that is powering digitization as it were today. So NCC is playing a major role. The power supply is there. Intel is there. The security infrastructures are already put in place. And for me and for the banking sector, we are just riding on all of this to really, really emphasize that unique use case that we all can relate with today as we offer banking services to our customers. One major question that the moderator asked earlier on was for someone to share some experience of some of our experiences pre-digital age, and of course maybe we're able to compare it to how we are faring right now in the digital age. And one quick example that came to mind was the example of going to the banking hall in the 80s with my father. And the experience is early in the morning, we will go to the banking hall, and whether it's either for him to deposit or to withdraw, we will have to pick a tally number. So I walk into the bank with him, we pick that tally number, we pick our number, a physical tally, and then we drive out to do several other things. And by the time it is late in the afternoon, we drive back again to check whether it's our turn to be attended to or not. That was how banking was pre the digital era. But today, digitization has made, and using all of the different factors and contributors that I've highlighted, from the power supply to the internet access to all different contributors to it, we've been able to empower our customers to do their banking services at the speed of light, at the comfort of their devices, at the comfort of their homes, wherever they are, even while the plane is flying at a very high altitude. Banking transactions can be done, is being done, and I'm sure we can all relate to that very ubiquitous use case today. And that is what digitization has brought as a major use case that we can all relate and play with, and of course use to ease our lives and of course facilitate payment as it were today. The regulator is doing all it can. CBN is regulating all of what is happening in the financial sector, and they are ensuring, and I'm going back to the issue of cost, because I have to bring it home to what we can relate with as a major use case in this era of digitization, so that we will see that, yes, internet is there, power supply is also being resolved, and all of those different infrastructures being put together. Ultimately, we need to be able to relate to what we can use it for in our day-to-day life. Agents are all out there on the street complementing the services of the banks, and they are being able to use in different supermarkets, in different malls. People are being able to make payments at the speed of light using different token devices, putting in their debit cards, and transactions and accounts in their different banks being debited, being consummated, while they go home with those goods and services which they are paid for. And this happened all being powered by all of those different factors we put together. Now, to the issue of cost, the regulator is ensuring that for all of these use cases, and banking as a major one, they are not expensive. They are things that every day, we call some segment of the market, maybe bottom of the pyramid, but for every segment of the customer life cycle anyway, we need to be able to use these services at a relatively very affordable price. And I can also tell that those prices are highly regulated. No user or no provider can charge anything that is not regulated. No amount can just be charged just by anyone without going through what we call the guide to bank charge, and all those prices are regulated. And we ensure that they are prices that are affordable for our consumers today, for our customers, who we serve and who will continue to use technology to serve at the comfort of their devices, their homes, and all of the different channels that we provide for them, albeit whether it's through PS terminals or through their mobile devices or through the ATMs, and all through several other channels, wearables that we will also still bring into the mix of payment services as it were. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. At least I can attest to the fact that even if I have just 100 naira data on my phone, I can transfer 1 million naira on my phone. So that makes it cheap. So I don't have to go and take tally number. There is no tally. Do you still have them? Where are they? What did you do with those tally numbers?
That was those days.
Okay. So thank you. So it's pretty cheaper. Thank you. I want to appeal to the audience. I'm going to ask Mr. Agadam my question from this side. This is supposed to be an interactive session. So I'm going to give as many people as are interested in asking, throwing questions at them. Once I finish my question with him and he responds, to raise up signal, and then microphone will be passed to you. Thank you. Mr. Agada, I'm worried for Nigeria. Because sometimes when I hear, thank God I've been in the industry otherwise, after being in the industry, reporting, because we educate people, I still have to go to online dictionary to check and to read so that I can, educate appropriately. All these things and much more. This is not the end of all the technologies we have posing in our faces now. Is Nigeria really ripe for this convergence? You have been I met you in this sector as an operator. So, is Nigeria really ripe for this?
Okay, I mean, the question is, if you go back to what I said earlier on, some things are inevitable, and it's a question of there's a train that's moving. You will get on the train. It's not a question of you don't have a choice. You will get on the train. It's just a question of whether you'll be running behind, trying to get, or it will meet you at the station and you get on, and that. So when we start asking whether Nigeria is ripe, we have to also look back a bit. And if you look back a bit, you'll find that computers have been in Nigeria for more than 50 years. Yeah. And in fact, if I think back, I would remember that Dr. Okpara then actually hired consultants at Ode Little, and they actually had a computer that they used to simulate the economy of the Eastern Nigeria when they were planning it. If you look back, one of the, if not the only parallel processor computer that was built with Zilog Z80 and family of processors was actually built in Nigeria by Nigerians, right? In fact, one of the very first attempts to build and exchange a switch, an electronic switch with microprocessors, one of the very first, was done in Nigeria by Nigerians. If you look back, the very first ability to store an image in a database was done in Nigeria by Nigerians. Do you understand? So if you think of these things, you can't be asking about whether Nigeria is ripe. The question is, unfortunately for me, I think Nigeria has actually regressed behind where it was 10, 20, 30, 40 years ago. And if you know, for instance, what Mr. Okubo here did in software,
Sure.
you'll be, I don't know, you could be laughing at when people talk about is Nigeria, because we've been doing these things for quite a long time.
But we weren't
So the
giving
issue
them
is
names.
not whether we are ripe, in my opinion. The issue is whether we want to now take advantage of those capabilities and those resources that we have. Those, 50 million or 80 million young people who are going into the universities. When I went into the university, I was being inspired by Nigerians. I wasn't being inspired by people. I was being inspired by Nigerians doing things in Nigeria. How are we trying to get these students to start doing those things? As he said earlier on, that's the greatest resource that we have. But what are they seeing? Strikes and kidnap. And so my thinking is that, is Nigeria ripe? We are overripe. Is Nigeria doing what it should be doing? Now, that's debatable.
Thank you. I love that clarity. Thank you so much. Do we have any question in the audience for these people? All right, sir. Mr. Okibo Jr.
Thank you. My question is to the Intel lady, because I don't know if any of you know this, but Intel Corporation is a mega corporation. I'm sure you know that already. So we have a mega woman sitting on the panel right there. And from my point of view, if Intel can be doing things with Indians, don't you think they can do just a little bit of those things they're doing in Nigeria? Right? Good. So let's ask her the question, what the hell do you have for Nigeria?
Do they have for Nigeria?
I can use this. Hold that just in case. Okay. Intel is mega, indeed. Intel is an American company, and I represent them here in West Africa. Basically and currently, what Intel is doing now is more on education. And we are doing a lot of trainings on that, on artificial intelligence, skills for innovation. And we've done so much with the state government, Lagos state government, and we're currently doing a lot more. Last week, we were in Zambia. All the ministers of education across Africa were there, including Nigeria. So we are doing a lot more, and we are not spending less in training for our Nigerians. But we have not gotten to the stage where we're taking technical people out of country for training. But that will also be orchestrated, and we are looking into it. But currently, what we are doing now is spending a lot more on education, on skills for innovation and artificial intelligence. And if you have anything around education, now I'm talking in terms of universities here, I'm talking of STEM, I'm talking of basic education, and you want to collaborate with Intel, I am very ready to collaborate with you. We will sponsor on artificial intelligence, on skills for innovation, ensure that students get trained and stop depending on white collar jobs. Because we're looking at where Nigerians will come out today and they are able to start up their own stuff, stand on their own, and stop looking at getting job with Polaris Bank or getting job with A group of companies. They will be bold to say, yes, I'm trained for this, I'm going to start up my things. So we are ready to take you through those trainings and we will sponsor. So we are ready to do that, sir.
This is excellent information. Just as a background, I think 3-4 years ago, the Indian government partnered with Intel Corporation to train 150,000 people in artificial intelligence. So what she's just given us here is just a small tidbit of what they can now do in Nigeria. So this is an excellent thing. This is why I was a bit surprised when I was introduced to you to say that you were Intel Corporation, because I didn't know this. We've been trying to get this kind of program here in Nigeria, so I applaud you for what you've just said. However, you've localized it in Lagos State. We need to move it around, okay? So we will definitely be talking. Thank you very much for that.
Any more questions from the audience? Okay.
Thank you.
Where is he going for?
Okay, good afternoon all. There is no doubt that technology has changed our lives. A number of contributions have been made that really tells us where we were and where we are today. And one example I can give is the fact that when I bought my first car, I had to go to the bank. I used a friend I had to be able to get to my money, and I put it in a sack. It was 95,000 naira for this used Santana. I put it in a bag, and I carried it in my friend's boot, and we drove to the car dealer who sells second-hand cars. And we had to bring out the money and physically count it. And when it was found okay, after we have counted about twice, they had to issue a receipt. And then we drove away. Years later, a few years ago, I needed to buy a car. I ran into the car when I wasn't actually ready. My money wasn't complete, but when I saw it, I just needed to buy it. And what I did was to make a call to somebody who wants to buy a piece of
youth appropriately, giving them the education that can make them responsible to this agenda forum that we are talking about today. So I wish to thank the organizers of this program very much as a consulate to take part. And I wish to acknowledge my Ghanaian community members who are well represented here. I believe we are all going to take this forum very seriously and come up with resolutions that will be helpful in our nations, particularly Africa. Thank you.
Okay. Before I, okay, any other question? Okay, we have another question.
Good afternoon. I have a question I want to ask in regards to the training man was talking about. Please, what are the platforms we have out there for we the youth, we the youth in the rural areas, so that we can participate in this training? And how do we go about it? Thank you very much.
Okay, we have not started looking at youth that are not in school. So if you heard me very well, I said we're starting with schools. We're doing with basic education. We're also doing with universities. Like yesterday, we had one with Base University in Abuja. And we have had one very close to the east, that is University of Calabar. So that is how we are doing it. We are not doing it individually, and we're not doing it by organization. We're just looking at schools. So if you are able to be in schools, but the new platform we are going to look at is empowering universities to now take it to the grassroots. For Base University yesterday, what we try to create is to create that platform and also sponsor for them to now go to secondary schools and empower them with devices. So those devices will now enable them to come up with the kind of skills they want to now engage in. So if you are not there physically to do these trainings, you can do it with your device online. So what I can do for you, for instance, is for me to share links where you can engage yourself online to do the trainings, aside the one-to-one or physical ones that we bring people in from all over the world to come and do the trainings. I also engage in training some of those people in some of the skills, but not all. So there are various types of skills for innovation. So we take it gradually, one by one, and process by process. So that's how it works.
Thank you, madam. Any other question? Go on,
Thank you very much. I was very delighted to hear that a lot of some of these technologies, some of them, in fact, the people who started to make them were Nigerians that made them. Although we don't hear about it, I'm just hearing about it for the first time. And I saw that when the Facebook guy came, what's his, yeah, he came in here. He knew about talents, that's seeking for talents. And he went to the Yaba area and almost turned it into a Silicon Valley. And I want to recommend that to Intel. Instead of us only just going to schools, people are very, very innovative, they are very intelligent. And a lot of times, when you talk about Nigerians worldwide, you hear about, oh, they're hackers. Is that true? You hear about advanced fee fraud. Is that true? What happens overseas in the West? These people that have these talents, they turn them around and use them. They use them in their companies to, in fact, develop very, innovative things. But here we don't. So they can turn them around to, instead of being on the bad side, to become good. And they can, in fact, do some ingenious and innovative things that, in fact, we'll be exporting these things overseas, like what my friend is doing by exporting generators that don't use fuel or anything. So I think we have to look inwards and not just look at only the schools. School is good, but I think we have to expand it, just like what Facebook guy did. The another question I want to ask, I know when the COVID thing was on, worldwide there was some rumors that 5G was being, it has something to do, the COVID thing has something to do with 5G. All over the world, I was hearing that. So I want you guys to answer and let me know what's going on here. And that they were laying it around and they wanted to keep everybody at home to make the 5G thing go. I'm just saying, you guys let me know. Then...
she talked about it before you came in, I'm sure.
Okay, I wasn't here, sorry. And then So please let us know the pros and cons of 5Gs. And at times some people say whether it has something to do with, is it cancer and some other things. You know, a lot of negative things that scared people about even the 5G. But now we know 5G is here to stay. So how do we also protect ourselves from getting the negative things that could occur by using 5G? Thank you. And then the artificial intelligence, especially in view of the security problem we have in Nigeria. I don't know how much have we developed them here, or how much are we bringing in to help us so that we can in fact be productive and do things even despite the security issues. You know, it's like drones, sending drones out. You know it's not manned. So even if they are shooting, they are not going to shoot a human being. You get what I'm saying? So what else do we have in here? Please. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, madam. Thank you so much. Those were very, very good questions. I'm sure the professionals are going to answer your questions, but I want to add to it so that everything can be taken, at least before the next round is taken. And my own question is, as any company like Intel or any, you deal in artificial intelligence, what effort have you made, for instance, knowing that Nigeria has very serious security issues? How far have you gone to market this thing? Because this thing is about, what do we call it in democracy? It's about, you have to educate the politicians. How far have you gone? Because they are not even ready to hear all this torrential about digitization. What have you done? What steps have you taken to ensure that they understand what we're talking about here?
I'm going to speak a little bit because I see Mr. Gadas laughing. He's going to talk more on it. And it looks like I'm the lady of the moment. Okay, so I'll take it one step at a time. So for 5G, we talked about it extensively before you came in. Even though me, myself, before now, I was almost believing the same thing, that 5G was devilish. It was a killer disease. It was causing a lot of things because a lot was just going on and on and on around it. But to be honest, I stand tall to say that 5G is the good thing that has happened to us around here. And she talked about something, if you had listened to her when she was talking about real time, how 5G can help us in most cases. 5G today is something we know that is one of the best real time we can, utilize. For instance, in terms of hospitals, if you're having a very delicate operation, the 5G network can help people to connect, doctors to connect across the globe to ensure that that particular operation or surgery goes on well, because they bring in professionals in Canada, in the UK, anywhere. And it becomes a real-time thing that they can educate you on what to do. The doctor on ground will be told what to do and all of that. They are communicating, they are seeing it, physically. Yes. So it's a real-time thing. So 5G is something that is really good that has happened to us well in this time that we are in. Like I said, there's always something that has advantages and disadvantages. But when the advantages are higher than the disadvantages, you are bent to, say, okay, fine, let me just engage in it. So we are engaging in it because we have looked at it, and basically the advantages are enormous. I am not a professional of 5G network, but I'm actually privileged to know so much about it, and I can stop there for now to say yes, that is it. And okay, we are going to also look at your advice on going further to say, oh, we are not particularizing only on education. But I forgot to mention that we're working with the likes of Zynox Technologies. We're also working with Omatech. Those are the indigenous laptops or devices makers for Nigeria. And what do we do with them? Basically, what we do with them is to bring in children or youth to come and learn how to produce machines So we teach them how to make laptops, bringing the parts together and let them learn how to make it. So we sponsor it with the likes of Zynos Technologies and the likes of Omatech for people to come in, learn, train, and be able to work on their own and probably become entrepreneurs in the future. So we're doing that as well. So I'm not able to capture all that we do at the same time, but these are the things that Intel is doing. So we are not just about chip makers, like I earlier said when I was making my presentations. We do a whole lot. So we're a company that does a million things in one. So there's a printer they call 3-in-1. We may be 20-in-1 kind of company. So that's who we are. Thank you. While I hand over to Mr. Gada.
I was. Hello. Hello. Yeah, good afternoon once again. I've been asked to intervene, on this 5G discussion. And if, I was told that there was a concern being raised about the health safety of 5G. And then I think I should talk a little bit about that. Now, 5G is nothing but a generation of technology. People talked about having to queue up to make calls in the days of the earlier generations. And what was very clear to everyone was that connectivity was a problem, and then also the fidelity of your communication was also a problem. And so the networks continuously were being improved upon. It's just like your radio systems. We used to play, listening to music with, what do you call it? The turntable, right? And then you later had the cassettes, and then you had the CDs, and now you almost don't even have to have anything, right? So these are what you might call evolution of music, right? From one generation to another. I do not think that if I were playing if I were playing Bob Marley's music using turntable, that is going to change if I were to play Bob Marley's music on Spotify, for instance. Are you following my logic? What doubters are saying, they are not agnostic, they are complete doubters, because it's not as if they don't know. They are saying that listening to a music of Bob Marley using CD is safe. However, if I were to listen to the same music on Spotify, it will kill me. Do you understand where the argument is? And that's very perverse. So your communication, the signals that you are transmitting, is merely riding on a network. It could ride on a 2G network, on a 3G network, on a 4G network, on a 5G network, and potentially on a 6G network. It does not, there's nothing in the signal that can kill you. But now let me tell you what people are saying, or what they should be talking about. What they should be talking about is the radiation effect. So if the argument is about radiation emission, if it's about what is being emitted by radiating objects like antennas, we can discuss that. Let me just discuss that very briefly. You can either carry your signals terrestrially through cable, or cable, I mean optic fiber cable and so on and so forth, yes? Or even copper cable, right? And where that is not possible, you use what you call microwave links, okay? So microwave links are made possible by signals exchanging information through receiving and transmitting antennas. Now, antennas are mounted on supportive elements called masts. Masts are non-radiating elements. They basically provide mechanical support. The only active component in a mast is called an antenna. So an antenna's job is to receive signal, decode it, and transmit it through a radio. The radios sometimes are domiciled in the same place with the switch, with the masts, the BTS sites, and so on and so forth. So now, somebody talked about electromotive force here. I don't know if he's still here. He talked about rotor and stator, and that's the mechanical aspect of it. There's a ratio between the coils, am I correct? The ratios determine the amount of electromotive force that's been generated, am I correct? In the same vein, when I want to make a transmission of signals, I can decide that I'm going to use a lower frequency or a higher frequency, depending on the carrier frequency. I'm able to do so much. Now, this is what we are saying as telecommunications engineers. If I am to transmit in a lower band, for example, 900 megahertz, I'm only limited in one way or the other, except if I increase the mechanism or something. Okay? But if I have to go higher to 3.5, for example, I'm in a place that I'm able to achieve speed, low latency, that is no delay, capacity, that is throughput, measurement of what you are transmitting per second, megabits per second. That's my throughput. So we have now taken you to the level to which you can transmit your information fast. And it's going to be ubiquitous, available. But that has also made a lot of demand on infrastructure. So where I'm going to have 2 or 3 masts, perhaps it will be more condensed. The mast, I'm going to have more masts per square meters than I would have ordinarily had, if you get my point. Now, that is as far as the technology goes. But in terms of the electromagnetic effect on you, it is the radiation from electromagnetic waves is non-ionizing emission. It's non-ionizing. It is not in the gamma rays or X-rays on the rays that are going to affect the adipose tissues of your body. Because your body has got a tolerance. Do you get my point? So it's as perverse as saying, oh, I won't listen to FM radio, I can only listen to AM radio because FM radio has got, a varying frequency than an AM radio. But nonetheless, you listen to radios. And in any case, they are just by your bedside all night. And you haven't lost any hair because you are listening to FM radio as opposed to AM radio. So now, the ITU standard or the World Telecommunications Organization standard is to measure the effect of the radiation on your skin. And so far, there has not been any proved case where a non-ionizing emission from an antenna could destroy the adipose tissues of your body. Not to talk about, the question of, somebody said that he couldn't even, in fact, that he got aged before his time because he was living very close to the mast. Another person said that, his daughter could no longer pass her exams because they live very close to the mast. So we hear all sorts of, stories surrounding this technology. But to cut a long story short, nothing in your life has changed between your 4G and your 5G. If anything, the 5G has given you more capabilities. It has enabled you to create platforms like the artificial intelligence platform, like the Internet of Things platform, like the distributed ledger technology platforms like blockchain. And it has also helped you to improve the way you live by making resources available to the network on demand. So, madam, please be sure. This is not I'm not campaigning here, but I'm talking to you technologically that the microwave link you are seeing is a non-ionizing emitter of electromagnetic waves and very safe for the body. So we should not even use 5G to mean, 5G does not mean anything, it's becoming, I'm confused. When people say 5G, 5G is nothing. 5G is just, is like a switch, it's just an enhanced switch, domiciled somewhere in a remote site. You don't even see it. Thanks to Intel goes provide more capabilities of of their devices. And then you just go and remove the old one. Then you put the new one. That's all they do. The antennas are still the same. The masts are still the same. Your handsets are still the same. But to conclude my conversation here, you must be wary of using substandard devices. Okay? If you go and buy mobile phone handsets that are not type approved by NCC, chances are that you might be buying phones that do not conform, that are not conformal to international standards. And what that can do to you is anything you can imagine, from generating heat to burning down your houses to whatever it is. But that is you that have taken the decision to go out of your way to purchase a device that is harmful to health. So it's always good to look at the specifications before you buy your mobile handsets. There's a relationship between the antenna, because all devices have got antennas. That's what they use to receive and transmit signals. There's a relationship between the effective radiated power of your handset and the signals that come into it. And if they are not in the right proportion, you are likely to be affected by the heat generated by your device. And this is almost the same thing as in all your devices, whether it is laptop or whatever it is. And then with the emergence and advent of the Internet of Things, what do? You've got sensors and RFIDs and everything talking to each other. And what do? They provide you with what you call a cloud of electromagnetic waves in your own house. So there must be what you call electromagnetic compatibility test and electromagnetic interference test for all equipments to make sure that adjacent signals can coexist. Okay? Finally, the way you design your houses are very important. Bear in mind that radiators, any metal is a radiator. So a metal at a particular frequency can radiate energy. Are you there with me? And therefore, when the city planners are designing cities, it is important they take into consideration how these signals operate, because there's something you call wavelengths. So if houses are built in such a way that some electromagnetic devices are put in the way of the transmitters, okay, you get what you call null interferences. The signals will go there and attenuate. Attenuation means the deadening of signals. They will just die there. They cannot transmit. They form what you call frequency selective surfaces. So anything can happen. So when you don't receive signals, you have to ask yourselves, how are the building there? What's going on around me? It's not about the signals. You are very safe. Thank you very much.
Okay, fine. I mean, they've answered all the questions, right? So 5G is safe. So I'm not sure. What is there any other part of the question?
No, there was a part that she mentioned about the usage of AI and how it can help with security. So one of the things I wanted to say is that data collection is one of the things we still need to really work on in this part of the world. For most of the advanced countries, you see that even by vehicles just plying the road, they have cameras or surveillance that can capture somebody's plate number, and it syncs with the person's name, the person's phone number, address. So in the event that the person has committed any crime, they are able to track it that, this person is the owner of the car. Even if it's not the person driving it, there are face recognitions that they can capture. But if you don't even have the data, you can't utilize all of these. Of course, I know Lagos State is doing some cameras at some junctions where maybe if you go against the traffic law, they'll be able to. But what about if somebody is probably driving too fast as a result of a crime they have committed, and they're just trying to bypass the police officers? But we don't have that sufficient data, which is also part of what we need to work on. Then analytics. How do we guarantee security, especially maybe things that has to do with car accidents? There is this particular documentary that I saw, and the traffic lights are not working based on, they have been pre-configured to say pass in 3 minutes, stop in 3 minutes. It actually captures the frequency of cars that passes and the time they pass. So if the peak period is morning, then it doesn't have to stop everybody by the 3rd minute, because it knows that there are a lot of cars that are queued up and they will go. And because this is available, people can really manage how they move and the pace they move, which of course is helping them to cope. And there are even wireless, like Wi-Fi signals on some roads that they have determined to be very deadly, so that when a car is coming and the speed is much, or it can attack another one, there is a road honk that will just do pum, 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 and the car will just have to stop. So all of this is what, of course, 5G can help to also address.
Wrap up this session for us before we take our brothers and sisters from Ghana on their final words, and we close up.
Okay, so I think we've gone full circle, and it's interesting, some of those questions, because we are now looking at actual applications. And I think one of the things that came out from the whole 5G episode is one of the big things that are happening that we say we don't know. When you combine these things, we don't know what happens, because this was a big disinformation campaign. And what people didn't know was that some people were actually being paid to spread that disinformation. People were paid. Even in Nigeria, people were paid. Highly placed people were paid to spread that disinformation. And it is easy. Before, they say if you did something bad to somebody, he will turn 10 people, right? Now, imagine if you did something bad to Donald Trump. How many people is he going to tell with just one tweet? And that is what has changed because of all of these things we are talking about. Intel has told us they are going to what they are doing, and many of us in this room are going to come back to her to do a lot more. Of course, the fintech people and the banks have been in the forefront of lots of what's happening in digital, and I believe they will continue to be. I was telling Dele that I saved his name as Dele Alert. I've known him for a long time. That I saved his name as Dele Alert. Now I have to change it and call it Dele Vault. All right. Okay. So because they keep pushing the boundary of what can be done within our environment. I mean, they've not exhausted what can be done. When we look at actual applications, when it comes to security, I tell people that what we don't have is the will. It is not the technology. What we don't have is the will. Niger State just signed $60 million with a Chinese company to do surveillance. We've done $100 million or more with ZTE previously. We've done so many of those things. So if we want to, we can stop the insecurity with the technology. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Agadad. We're going to round off. I think our brothers from Ghana have something to say. Oh, it's only, okay. Then we're going to have a group photograph.
Yeah, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Based on the protocol already established here, I want to make my own little contribution, not just only as somebody coming from Ghana, but I belong to the Nollywood family. And then, believe it or not, Nollywood has become a global brand that has placed Nigeria positively in the limelight when you talk about what Nigeria is and what Nigeria stands for. Now, if you look at it vis-a-vis the digital agenda we're talking about here, most of our Nollywood jobs now are online. Wherever you are, on your phone, you can stream live and watch everything, all the first-class movies that are happening everywhere in the world. So our brother, the convener of this agenda, Digital Agenda Forum, should be encouraged. That's a wonderful agenda he has. He should be encouraged to factor the Nollywood family into this. He should be encouraged. Yeah, and then the big forces sitting down here should welcome Nollywood when we do presentations so that we can together place Nigeria over and above all the negative things that are being said about Nigeria. Now, to do that, we are not just movie makers. We, apart from entertainment, we inform and we educate. Yeah, so together, we can put positive things about Nigeria, because a lot of negative things are out there, not being controlled. So when we encourage Nollywood to be part of it, believe you me, what people think about Nigeria will change. Not only Nigeria, but Africa totally will be for the better. Because if Nollywood, which is a powerhouse when it comes to movie making, is encouraged to just still position right there on the international digital highway, a lot of positive things will come online, and we will all be better for it. Thank you. And
Thank you so much. Thank you very much, this distinguished audience. We're very grateful for your patience, for your calmness, and for your attention. Thank you so much. Thank you indeed. I now call on the convener to come and give his final word. Okay, the chairman, and then we'll step down.
Thank you. Well, let me start by saying good afternoon. I hope your stomachs are not rumbling like mine is. And I don't know if the convener anticipated that our stomachs would be rumbling at this point in time. So if you have any bad eyes to direct them to him. Okay. When I first spoke, I did say that I was particularly excited about this theme today, 2023 and beyond, the convergence mix, talking about artificial intelligence, Internet of Things, blockchain technology, renewable energy, and cybersecurity. Every piece of each component of that mix, as you can see, I think James has tried to lay a concept that some of these things have been around in terms of a foundational manner. So we can't say that, oh, we are not able to experience some of these things, but he's also insisting that we have to have the will to be able to just take the bull by the horn and move forward, correct? So, James, don't look too bleak. Yeah, we're going to move forward. Now that Intel is here, we'll move forward. If Intel weren't here, probably I'll be saying, maybe. But for Intel to have made a statement here today, I think that is a powerful statement made here today, and we should take advantage of it. So I'd like to commend her, Rita. Remember her name, Rita. Remember it, okay? So anytime you go to bed and you want to talk about artificial intelligence, think Intel, think Rita. So my takeaway from her presentation here today is just that. I'm not going to start delving into all the other things that she talked about. That is the most important thing she said. And the reason why I align with her thought process or the approach, Intel approach, is that I believe very strongly that education is the most fundamental pillar to lead us into innovation and productivity. So in the way we are as a developing nation, we do have to engage or tackle education frontally and brutally. That's one advantage that we have. So, and as you're aware now, some of these organizations are no longer requiring degrees to hire you. They are now looking for skills, and more skills. I'd like to tell a little story. I don't know if some of you had the kind of experience I had during COVID, trying to figure out how do you manage your time with just your wife sitting in the house with you. You know, it's an unusual thing to be in the house with your wife 24 hours a day. I don't know about some of you men, know. But my wife will go crazy with me in the house. She would tell me, don't you have some place to go to? So she needed to find something to do. I needed to find something to do. So I decided to go online and I took a course in Geographic Information Systems, University of Toronto. Now, that course, taking that course, I had to learn TensorFlow. TensorFlow is Google's AI software. The project that I had worked on was a project using Badagry as my project. Badagry is a local government covered with coconut trees from one end of Badagry to the other end of Badagry. And with the satellite images that I was able to download at a huge cost, I was able to determine the healthy trees from the unhealthy trees using TensorFlow as an AI package to do that. Now, since that program during COVID, which was 2020, I've been trying to see how I can get the governments of some of the states with huge investments in palm trees. I'm sure you know a lot of eastern Nigeria, Delta State, and some other parts are littered with palm trees all over the whole place. And we have old, aging palm trees. You now have the new breed of palm trees, which can fruit, say, in 18 months, 2 years, and then come to full maturity in about 5 to 7 years, and continue fruiting for another 30 years. So I was trying to see how I could use this technology to advise these governors, these governments, state governments, to invest in the high-yield fruit, palm trees, to be able to now feed off of the revenue they can generate from palm oil as opposed to being reliant on crude oil. That's where innovation and technology could have come in to help a state focus on revenue for its own internal development. So these are the kind of things that excite me when I hear Intel coming to come and teach AI to Nigerians. I mean, as old as I am, I had to learn it, for God's sake. So anybody, if I can do it, even my own wife can do it. And my wife doesn't know how to use Microsoft Word. Don't tell her I said that, though. Okay, now, Tinua Day, did I pronounce it correctly? I like her. She has a very conservative approach in articulating her positions, and she's always coming back to what I call reality. And that reality is that, yes, there are things out there that need to be done. Yes, there are things that we should approach in certain ways, but at the same time, we have to be realistic about doing X, Y, and Z. Am I right or wrong? Oh, there. So that means her husband agrees with her too. So her position is very clear. Just stay focused on what we need to achieve to help our own internal development. And for me, that's what technology is all about. If I can't use technology to develop my own immediate environment or my own community, what is all of this for? If you get trained as a nurse, you want to be trained as a nurse to deliver nursing services to your community, whether a doctor, engineer, a pure water seller, you name it. So, of the renewable energy, the generator, I'm still very excited about it. I am anxious to hear a lot more about what it can do. Can you imagine the number of factories in Nnewi alone? I'm sure half of you don't even know that in Nnewi, they have so many cottage industries in Nnewi. And if you can imagine, over a 3-year period, how much money they spend powering their generators with today's diesel costs. Today's diesel cost. You can just imagine. So if this is a workable solution, then it is an immediate benefit to a manufacturing community, small-scale industries, pure water manufacturers. I mean, they are the kind of people who would be dying for this kind of service. I mean, even for people like us who are trying to build solutions, I mean, if we can run our production, our software development 24 hours, I mean, that would be fantastic. Why would I not have to run the generator for 12, 14 hours and shut it down for it to rest? So we're talking about how can we use this technology to develop ourselves and unshackle ourselves from the chains of the developed countries who think that if we do for ourselves, then we're doing ourselves a disservice. No, we should work hard to deliver these solutions for ourselves. This is why Dele's approach to digital banking, if I'm correct to say digital banking, we've all heard about fintechs, right? We're all familiar with fintechs. Nigeria is aggressive, quite aggressive, courtesy of the banking sector in the fintech area. I'm deliberately using the word aggressive because I think we're starting to catch up with some other African nations. I think, James, you can correct me here if I'm wrong. Okay, well, there you go. I've just been corrected that Nigeria is actually ahead. And I must admit, I think Kenya was so far ahead at some point, even South Africa, to some extent Egypt. But as you have just heard now, Nigeria is pushing very aggressively. And there's a lot of innovation coming out of the way we do things ourselves. The way Americans transfer money on their cell phones is not the way we transfer money on our own cell phones. In fact, we have simpler banking apps to transfer money than they have in the United States, believe it or not. You see? So there is innovation coming out of Nigeria. Remember I asked the question, are we ready for the fourth industrial revolution? It's easy for me to say, well, maybe, maybe not. Maybe, maybe not. But can we begin the journey? And the answer is yes, we can begin that journey. So I hope I have, as briefly as possible, tried to just cover what all the panelists have spoken about this afternoon. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. Did you? Yeah? So, I don't think it'll be necessary to ask for any additional questions, but if you have your cards ready, these are all very big people, okay? Very big people, and I'm happy we had a good representation of industry players and big corporations. James here is as big as you can get, man. I mean, he used to be Computer Warehouse Group, for God's sake. He's a big boy. Don't mind the fact that he's dressed down like Zuckerberg and things, yeah, but he's a very big boy. See, the panelists are all nodding their heads. So I would like to use this opportunity to say a big thank you for having you all come out here listen to us jaw about 2023 and beyond and the convergence. And I hope you can go home and make sense of all what we've said today and see how we can take this and show how somehow we must come up with clear policies to guide what we can do with this in every sector of our whole entire development arena. Whether you're in healthcare, whether you're in transportation, whether in infrastructure, construction, it doesn't matter. I mean, there's a bit to do in just about everything here. I'd like to say thank you very much and thank you for giving me the opportunity to chat with all of them. So, handing over to you now. Don. Thank you.
Thank you. Please put your hands together for the chairman of this event. Thank you. Please don't sit down here. Please, let's have group photograph before they go back to their seat. Let's also do this quickly so we can. Okay, I'd like to invite the CEO of Transworld to please come. We just want to show appreciation to these two organizations that for your pioneering role in private security in Nigeria. Okay. TechTV wants to present this to you. So, Mr. Chairman, you want to present to her.
Well, Madam, I wish I could put this in my pocket. It feels like an Emmy. So, in honor of all the good work you've been doing, I present to you on behalf of TechTV. So,
Okay, thank you. Thank you indeed. Please, yeah, you can go back now. Yeah, thank you, sir. I'd like to invite most respectfully representative of the EVC of NCC, the Deputy Director, New Media, to please come. And I also like to invite Chief Ishola to please come. For your pioneering role in green energy innovation in Nigeria and all that you have done to see that that industry thrives and adds value. This is for you on behalf of TechTV. So I'd like to respectfully ask the EVC, who is represented here by the Deputy Director, to make this award, present this award.
Well, in full recognition of your contributions to Nigeria, I do present this to you on behalf of TechTV.